So, Leslie, I've definitely met you before. You come into my instructional design center on a consistent basis. James, I'm not sure if I've met you before.
I teach philosophy and actually I live in Colorado Springs,
Okay,
Colorado, so I'm not on campus
okay,
much.
okay,
But anyway, I do a lot online, so
sure,
this is interesting.
yeah. Well, welcome, both of you. Thanks for coming. Like I said before, if you have any questions at all, um, just go ahead and speak up, or you can type in the chat if you want to. I have no issues with that at all. So I'm going to do here is, oops, see if it'll let me share my screen. There we go. All right. So let's go ahead and bring this up. Um, so to give you a little context of kind of who I am and what my role is at the college at the moment, my name is Brandon Pouliot. I am an instructional design assistant at the Westminster campus. I also support the Boulder County campus for 1 day a week on Wednesdays. I help everybody with D2L issues, educational technology, troubleshooting, anything like that folks have questions about. I am one of the go-to folks that can help out with that. Now, I started out as a student at Front Range in 2008. I've been working in some capacity on and off with the college since 2009, so I've been around for quite a while. The position I'm in now, I've been in for a little over 2.5 years, getting close to 3 years now. So I've been working with D2L a long time, and intelligent agents is something somewhat of a passion of mine. I've presented kind of different ideas at several conferences, and the way it has functioned at Front Range has definitely been, at least in some ways, pushed by me. So I do have an expertise here, and I welcome any questions. Like I said before, just kind of speak up, and I'm happy to answer. But I'm also going to probably ask a couple of questions of both of you. So my first one would be, do either of you know what an intelligent agent is?
Yes, I think.
Okay. James, what do you think?
I think it's what it depending on a certain number of criteria, it will perform an action. Like for instance, send you an email if students do or don't do something.
Sure. Yeah,
I mean, that's
that's pretty
part of my
accurate.
understanding.
Yeah. Um, so here is D2L's definition as they've given it, and this is a definition that I love because I think it's kind of terrible. Um, I think it focuses a lot on kind of the very simplistic ways that you can use intelligent agents, especially the last line where activity occurs in a course or there is not activity within a course or within D2L. And so my definition varies just a little bit from that to kind of capture the broader sense of what you can do with intelligent agents. So intelligent agents are a tool within D2L that search for a specific behavior that is performed by, in most cases in higher education, performed by a student. And a recent update lets us look at actions that are not performed in a timely manner by students. And it sends an automatic email that you can craft to the student that meets, like you said, James, the criteria that you set in order to initiate that communication.
Right.
And so examples are, a student takes a quiz and gets a 95 on the quiz. You can automatically send something out that says, "Hey, great job. You're doing well. Obviously, you're studying. If you have any questions, here's contact information, things like that." You can also look at possibly maybe a lower third of students in your course, and if they don't do so well on a quiz, maybe say, send something out and say, hey, here's my office hours, here's ways to contact me, here's a couple of extra resources. If you're near a campus, here's the resources on campus that you can get to. If you're doing an online course, you can definitely talk about things like BrainFuse tutoring, which is online live tutoring from folks. They have a wide variety of subjects. So things like that you can both target at as encouragement or motivation for your high level students, but you can also try and get persistence from the vulnerable populations in your courses and try and help them succeed as well. That's much more my preferred method for intelligent agents rather than kind of the punitive, you haven't been in, you haven't done much. So, moving forward a little bit, what can they do? They can look for, like we said, specific actions that relate to any of the tools within D2L. So things for checklist for content, Dropbox, quizzes, surveys, even in the gradebook can search for certain things that students either do or don't do, and send out a response that you get to craft automatically on that. So a couple things I have here are like reminders for maybe when for assignments are due, or just kind of reminders in the course that are going to run based on an activity that the student completes, or something that they interact with in the course. Um, Go on to be like a welcome message. The first time your students sign into your D2L course, you can, send them an email and immediately establish that instructor presence in the course by saying, hey, welcome to my course. It's great to have you here. I hope we have an awesome semester. Take a look at the syllabus. Here's my contact information. Um, Here's resources to try and help you accomplish your goals, your academic goals throughout uh, the entirety of my course. That's something that you can spend a little bit of time setting that up for one semester and then copy it over for each subsequent semester, and kind of have all that planning and everything done beforehand, and have this automatically go out to your students, um, just to make sure that they're informed on kind of the first day that they engage with your class. So, other things, kind of my focus here would be encouragement and motivation, making sure that your even your high-end students, they could be in and the end run of the course, just taking the third out of four midterms or something like that, and just that message that says, hey, great job getting an A on this. Like, you did an awesome job. You're almost there. We're in the home stretch. Let's push through and let me know how I can help you complete and be successful in this course. That kind of thing can make a gigantic difference for students. Along those same lines, you can also kind of provide a more broad learning experience for your students. You can, if someone has an interest in optional material you've provided, you can add information to that. Hey, they access this piece of optional content. Great, send them this message that has more information, or something fun to do with that subject to kind of expand that learning experience for them if they have interest in it. One of the things that I kind of have a passion for, but haven't really recruited somebody to work with me on yet, is what I mentioned last year, which is gamification. Um, Something like a multiple branching course that's a kind of a choose your own adventure uh, type course that will allow students to kind of navigate their way through material based on what works best for them. Um, those kinds of things can easily be done with intelligent agents and release conditions within a course. Um, that would be a lot of fun to kind of develop with someone. So if you know anybody, let me know. I'm more than happy to kind of map that out and see how we can fit D2L in there. Next biggest question: where do we find this? And so, intelligent agents are based within an individual course. So if you have multiple sections that you teach or anything like that, um, you can definitely copy the agent from one course to another, but you will have to make sure that everything that you select, your release conditions, your schedule, everything like that, applies to that individual course. So once you go into D2L and you click on one of your courses, On the right-hand side, we have probably a few widgets, but underneath the new Title IX widget that has all that information for instructors and students in there, you'll see a course administration widget. And if you scroll all the way down pretty much to the bottom, you'll see a communications section, and Intelligent Agents is the last link in that section. We're going to go a little bit more kind of
Wait,
into
I
D2L.
don't see it. Wait, I'm looking and I don't see it. Say
So
again where it is. You're on the your course.
your course homepage, and on the
Yeah,
right-hand side, you should see that course administration widget.
course administration with it.
So you're going to have to scroll down.
Scroll down. It's on the right.
It's underneath the black Title IX widget that's in there. If you have any of the online resources or anything like that, it'll be below that as well.
All right, and I'm looking for intelligent agents, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeesh. All right, now you'll do it. Intelligent.
So we're going to go into D2L and actually kind of take a look at that. We can definitely take a look at exactly where that is in a course in just a few minutes. My slideshow doesn't take most of the time here. I kind of plan for questions and things like that. So, pardon me. How do intelligent agents work? So we're going to talk a little bit about that using release conditions or the login and course activity options that they provide within there. We can respond with a custom message that we craft and personalize to either you or your students or even an advisor or something like that, someone who might be involved in your plan that you've crafted with intelligent agents. One important thing to make sure is that you let everyone know who's involved in your plan, that they will be receiving emails based on this, and give them context for why they might get that information. Don't just add someone and have them automatically get those emails, because it won't make sense to them, and they'll probably call you back and ask you what's going on. So we can use what are called replacement strings, and replacement strings do a couple of things. So on the left-hand side, what you see is the two CC and BCC, so the address area of the email crafting in Intelligent Agents. And the to field you almost always want to populate with what you see there, which is curly braces with the words initiating user inside of them. That is what they call a replace string. And what that does is that whoever meets the criteria that you set will be the initiating user. They will be the person that initiates that communication that you've set up to search for those conditions and email out your information to whoever meets those criteria. Now, you can also use external email addresses, and your external email addresses I would definitely keep to your front range email addresses, just to make sure that there are no FERPA violations. That's definitely a big concern. And you don't want to enter like a student email address up here. All that information is tackled by that initiating user replace string. Anything that is not a replacement string here will be hard coded into here, meaning every time the conditions are met, this will be emailed out to that person in particular. For instance, if you put in students or yourself in here, every time someone meets your criteria, you will get that same email over and over. So just be careful. And with replacement strings, I always take these and I copy them from where they come up in D2L, which we will definitely take a look at in a moment, and paste them in, because if you get them wrong, they are going to appear wrong, or if you get the initiating user string wrong, it will not send out those emails. So I'm always careful in setting these up, and we'll take a look at kind of what the setup looks like in just a little bit here. Do either of you have any questions so far?
None so far.
Okay. And you don't need to write any of this down because it's all stored in D2L, and we can easily get to it each time we craft an intelligent agent. So, but I do want to look kind of on the right-hand side and see what information we can automatically include in an intelligent agent. Things like org unit name, which is your course name. That's going to include the whole 9 digits with discipline, course number, and section number, as well as your name and the title of the course. Initiating user first name would be the student's first name that meets those criteria. And initiating user org defined ID would be that student's S number. So those are kind of some important pieces that we can automatically include in here to, if you're looking at a vulnerable student or folks in your class who may need a little bit of assistance, that information can be extremely pertinent because otherwise you're just going to get a bland email that shows you, hey, something happened based on what you put in, but it won't give you enough information to kind of take action on it. So using these is super important to giving the emails context for you or whoever they're going to be going to. So next we're going to look at kind of how we can customize the emails, and really it's just about anything that you can do. So this is the HTML editor in D2L. And it appears everywhere. You create a news item, you create a Dropbox input instructions in there, you make discussions, you can do everything in here. So the picture I have on the right is actually an embedded video, but you can put in any kind of multimedia, images, text. Again, I mentioned using replace strings to kind of personalize the email. And another one is definitely kind of the example on the right is targeting your engaged students with that additional learning opportunity. So giving them an extension of their learning experience in your course, but making sure it's kind of targeted at the students who might be interested in it. So a couple things to consider when crafting intelligent agents are what I say here, trying to make them more intelligent is using them as motivation or a continuation of learning much more than the next line item, which is much more than punitive. Things like you haven't been here in 3 days or you haven't turned this in yet. Even just changing the tone and saying, hey, just a reminder, we've got this coming up. I want to make sure that you're successful in the course. I want to make sure that you have every opportunity to succeed here. Even just the tone of the emails that go out, which you get to decide, can make a massive difference in what type of impression you're going to give to your students with these. And the next piece is setting a schedule. So if you don't set a schedule, you have to run your intelligent agent manually. But if you do set a schedule, you can set it to run daily, every 3 days, every 13 days if that's what you need to do. You can set it to run weekly, every 2 weeks. They have different options of how you can set them. And what that'll do for you is it kind of massively expands what we can do with these agents. It provides a date context for when we want to look for the criteria that we set for sending out that communication.
I have a question. So, well, one thing is I'm running my electric heater. Is that being irritating to people? Is that coming out over the line?
No, I can't hear it.
Okay, good. And then the other thing that I wanted to ask is, sorry about my dog. I will shut the door in a moment. But is there like different like sets of schedules? Like, you might have one that runs, daily, and then one that runs, at a different time, that schedules that goes off at a different, on a different iterations, I
Sure.
guess, of
So,
schedules.
what you would want to do in cases like that is you would want to craft a different agent if you have different criteria that you're trying to measure on a daily or a weekly or something like that. And so for each individual agent, you can only set uh, one discrete amount of time for it to iterate on. And so, if you do daily, you can set a set number of days from one to however many you want, whatever makes sense. If you do weekly, it's going to take that 7 days and go. I'm going to do it once here, and exactly a week later, I'm going to do it again, and exactly a week later, I'm going to do it again. And then there's both. I think there's monthly and annually are the other options in there. So yes, you can set up different timetables, different schedules, but only for individual intelligent agents. We can kind of take a look at what that will look like once we pop into D2L.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does very
Okay,
well. Thank you.
sure. So, online learning did a pilot, I believe, for 3 semesters. So, starting in, I think, fall 2014. And we learned quite a bit during that. I worked very closely with the student success team, the online student success team, to kind of craft this. And this was the most recent data I had. And I think there is some more, but I wasn't able to get my hands on it before we started. So um, they set up the agents in conjunction with instructors. So they would hold a meeting. I was, a consultant to see, hey, is this possible? Can we do it this way? Is there another way that we should do it? And kind of tried to help them develop um, good best practices for setting these up for instructors. So they mixed up the different types of ones that they did. They did days missed. So if a student missed 3 days, they would send them an email. If they sent them, or if it was 5 days, they sent the instructor and the student an email. And at like 7 days, they would send the instructor, the student, and a student retention specialist an email, so the retention specialist can actually reach out to those students, chat with them, let them know that um, maybe in a way more so than an instructor could, that they had been absent, and kind of discuss, hey, how can we get you back on track? How can we, make the decision that's best for you academically and even personally at the moment. So that human touch, I think, made a huge, huge difference in kind of how well the spring 2015 pilot worked. That's something that I think was crucial for them to be able um, to kind of judge how well this would work. And all of this is automated, and there are other systems that might um, catch students, like a student of concern report or an early alert, but those are not automated pieces, whereas this is, and this is something that can definitely make a difference. So that was a total of 58 classes, and in those 58 classes, there were over 3,500 alerts that were issued. And so we see it's an average of 61 per class. If we, kind of even out the high and low enrollment courses, we'll say probably 20 students per class. That's about 3 alerts per student, which is not a lot over the course of a semester. But that can definitely make a difference. I mean, that can be, um, you know, not only students who were absent from class, but it could be students who turned in something and got a hey, thanks for turning that in, or a hey, great job on that piece, or whatever it may be. Um, so this is something that it looks like it touched a lot of folks inside of those courses, and we got some pretty positive feedback from instructors. And so it definitely continued, and kind of went to a full-blown program for online instructors, was announced to them, and continues to be that way to this day. So I want to share a couple best practices that we kind of discovered. A lot of this stuff was kind of trial and error. There were definitely a few where, hey, in setting up an intelligent agent, somebody had copied all of the student email addresses and put them in the to field, and then emails were sent to everyone when someone was gone for 3 days or 5 days or whatever it may be. Um, those things we can definitely avoid at this point. Um, and we also looked at um, break times. So in online courses, you're expected to log in probably 3 or so times per week. You need to engage with the material consistently, and so the threshold was if they haven't logged in for 3 days, we want to let them know, hey, they can get back in, or they need to get back in and kind of engage with the content. And what we discovered in the first pilot that we did um, was that we had these set up to run all the way through a semester, which included break times. And so over fall break, everybody in the classes got a message that said, "Hey, you haven't been here in 3 days," and there were a lot of concerned phone calls, like, "Are we supposed to be doing something? What has happened?" And so that's another consideration is if you're going to run any of the attendance ones, make sure that you plan for the breaks that you're going to have in the semester. And you can do that with the schedule. So run it up until spring break starts, and then don't run it for the next 2 weeks, and create another agent that runs for the last week or two of the course. We found early on it's more important to have the attendance ones running if that's kind of the way that you want to go with it. The last couple weeks of the semester are, I mean, that's crunch time for everyone. So um, one of the other big things is you can desensitize your students with tons of emails. So if they're getting, 5 of these messages a week, that's probably not a very effective use of the tool because they're going to start ignoring them. And then when you finally send them an email that is really important, they're probably going to ignore that too. So I recommend using these sparingly and probably um, for areas that you want to emphasize in your course. So if you're not doing attendance, making sure that, if your weekly quizzes or something like that are super important or a great way to get your base grade in the course and you think they're really important to complete, you can craft an agent around that to kind of emphasize and motivate and encourage your students to take those seriously, to get the best grades they possibly can, to give them more information surrounding those kind of assignments. I think that leads directly into kind of the next point here, which is start with a clear goal. Start with something that you want to accomplish, and then we'll see if we can craft the agents around that and accomplish that goal. We're going to take a look at just what is possible, but what I am more interested in is kind of what instructors want to do with this tool, and I think um, that those ideas have kind of driven my delivery of this content, as well as every time I've given this, I've had different questions from different types of people. I've had different audiences of instructional designers, K-12 instructors, higher ed instructors, and the questions are always different, even between different disciplines and things like that. So if you're thinking of something, keep your idea in your head, and once we get into the LMS, we'll actually take a look um, at what we can do, and so maybe some ideas will pop then as well. Another one, again, and we already talked a little bit about this, consider everybody who's involved, the scale of this. Is it just your course? Is it every course that you teach? And consider how difficult it's going to be to administrate these in the future. So if we create 4 or 5 of these, that's a step that you need to take when setting up your course, to set these up again with your new course when you go from semester to semester. That's easily doable, and it'll take you a few minutes because the basics of what needs to happen will already be there. If you set up 80 of these, first of all, that violates the first best practice. Your students are probably going to get way too many emails. But the other portion is you have to set those up again if you expect them to work in your new course. And like I said, the basics of it will be there, but you will still have to go in and reset the schedule and make sure everything is kind of applicable to your course. Again, I just kind of stress, look for ways to use them other than enforcing participation. That's kind of a very simple use. It can be effective, but it seems to have been more effective with when used in conjunction with kind of the human outreach that our online student retention specialists have used. And the last piece is a piece of feedback from the pilot, which is attaching these to a grade item where you can kind of coach your upper third, middle third, and lower third of students, and provide whatever resources you can for those individual groups, or however you want to divide it up. Um, there was definitely positive feedback from instructors when they used it like that. It allows them to emphasize and kind of track where certain students are super easily, but it also gives them the ability to kind of automatically provide um, information on resources like brain-fused tutoring or on-campus resources that the student may have heard of but doesn't necessarily know about. If you have students who are averaging C's or even below that on every exam, if you send them something that says, hey, we've got all these resources that you can use, that student qualifies for those resources, and it can inform you of where they are and inform them of where they are and how they can get back on track to kind of accomplish their goals. Because, um, you know, although some people may end a class satisfied with a C, I don't think anybody aims for that at the beginning. I think everyone wants to succeed to the best of their ability, and this is a way that you can encourage all of your students to get there. Um, Up next, I've already asked it a couple times, but do we have any questions, or are there different ways that you might like to use intelligent agents? Are you curious if something will work, or are you terrified of using intelligent agents? How can I quell your fears?
I think that for me, um, I need to be able to see what some other people have done to get to spark my, you know,
Creative juices.
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I feel. I feel
Okay.
like I need to see how it's been implemented
Yeah.
to figure out how I might want to do that.
Okay. So that's really the next step for me. You go here, and then I'm actually going to bring this up here. We'll get rid of our CNN there. Make this full screen here. Okay, so and actually, you know what? I'm going to make this like super large so that hopefully y'all can see. So here I am.
Yeah.
I'm on the V12 homepage. I'm going to go to my practice course here, and so where I was talking about is on the right-hand side. We have a two-column layout here. So in the right side column, if you have extra widgets here, it's going to be kind of long, and I have literally every widget we possibly could. But if you scroll down, here's the Title IX widget, and keep going. Online instructor resources if you're an online instructor, and then here's course administration. If we continue to scroll pretty much all the way to the bottom, we get to communication. So in communication, under there, the third one is intelligent agents. So I've got kind of quite a few of these here. Um, we can look at creating a new one, but you both kind of said you're interested in seeing kind of how they're set up, and I
Right.
think that's the most important part. Is kind of the theory behind these, much more than the technical pieces, which we're always happy to help out with. So I'll show you one of them that I made. Named it something. You don't have to add a description, but it's useful when you're copying from one place to another, just because it kind of gives you the context of okay, this is what I was trying to do in case anything gets messed up in between courses. So sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. This is one of the first ones I did. Enable it or don't. If it's not enabled, it will not run. It will not send emails. It will not do anything. It'll just sit there. Um, Before you enable it, make sure that everything you have below is satisfactory and set up correctly. So this one's fine. It's in my practice course. It's not going to email anybody. It shouldn't. The next two areas. So we have agent criteria here. The two first pieces under that are login activity and course activity. The first one is did the student log into D2L? not into your course, not did they do anything, did they log into D2L. A lot of the time that's not useful for instructors, so I kind of glaze over that one. The next one is course activity. If you want to enable this, you check the box and then enter a number of days. This is not did they come into your course and engage with a piece of content. This is not did they read that news item. This is simply did they log into D2L and click the link to get into your course. So that's something that, again, it's not all that useful of a metric. It can be useful to know if they're not logging in, but just the fact that they are logging in does not mean that they are engaged with your course content. Just something to keep in mind. Up next, my favorite part, the guts of, well, what I consider the guts of an intelligent agent, is release conditions. If you're not going to use either of these, you can leave them unchecked and just go simply based on release conditions here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Create and Attach. And this guy should blow up pretty big here. Here we go. And it's going to bring up this new menu where it has Select Condition Type. So we can look here and we can look at all of the different tools in here. I'm kind of going to gloss over both class list and competencies. If you have questions about either of those, we can kind of take a look at them. Competencies are not used all that much here at Front Range, but at other institutions they may be, and that's something that, you know, hopefully in the near future we'll be able to kind of develop courses around the competencies tool within D2L. So if we look at some of these, we can use the checklist tool. Did they complete or not complete a checklist? Did they complete or not complete a certain item on a checklist? Within class list, you can create groups, and you can add students to certain groups, and based on their group enrollment, you can send them an email with an intelligent agent. Down from there, we're going to look at content. Content, did they visit or not visit a content topic? Did they author or not author a discussion post? Did they submit or not submit a Dropbox? All of these things, there are positives and negatives now, which is great because people have been asking for those negatives for quite a while here. And so these are, they can be a little bit different. So you can do individual grade items, but you can also do the tools that are associated with an assignment. And this is so that you can do, even in a face-to-face course, you can kind of connect all of this information regardless of which tools you use within D2L. We can take a look at whichever ones of these any of you are interested in. A good one that is one of the more complicated ones is in grades. So if I click on that, you'll see it loads a kind of a conditional item down here for a drop-down list, and it gives me a list of the items that I have in here. So I can say, okay, I want students who get, let's say, below a 70% on midterm 1. So if they didn't get a C or better, I want to send them this message. So in order to do that, all I've selected is grade value on a specific item. I selected my midterm. Well, I think I said midterm 2 here. We'll make that right. And then in the criteria box, you can see there's less than or equal to, less than, greater than, equal to, between, not between. A lot of options here. So I said less than or equal to. Actually, we want less than. We'll do this right. And then you can enter a grade there. Once I do that and click create, you'll see that it gives me kind of a plain English explanation of what I just selected. So it says the criterion for this at the moment is that the student has to have received less than a 70% on midterm 2. Now you can add multiples of these if you're interested. So we could go back in and we could say, okay, trying to think of anything that makes sense. And we'll say they have not submitted their paper yet. And you can see down here it populates these individually. If we want to get rid of them, we can just pop that. And you can set it up so that any of these have to be set up, or pardon me, have to be met, or only one of them has to be met. So that's any or all of them. Um, any questions on kind of release conditions? That, like I said, that's kind of the heart and soul of intelligent agents. So that's kind of the most important part to understand.
That makes some sense. That's good.
Okay. Um,
Hey, Brandon.
yes.
It's James Stevens. I'm crashing your party a little late
Hey,
here.
no problem.
Uh,
Thanks for coming.
uh, yeah, as you know, you created a bunch of intelligent agents for me, and Heather did as well for
Yeah.
my course. And the reason why I'm here is just to peek in and learn how to actually set them myself.
Sure.
I apologize if you've covered this, but I tried to. I'm in the update schedule
Mm-hmm.
portion. Did you already go over that, or are you yet to go over that?
That's one of the next sections that we're going to take a look at.
Oh, okay. I
So,
apologize.
no, no,
I will just.
no
I'll
problem.
just listen in to when you get to that. Sorry.
No problem. Um, next section is how often the agent takes this action. 99.999 repeating percent of the time, I recommend leaving this on only taking the action, so sending out that email the first time a student satisfies those criteria. And the reason for that is because if they satisfied the criteria on Thursday, it's going to send them the email Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night. It's just going to keep sending them that email over and over and over, which kind of goes back to my mantra of make sure
Less
you
is
don't
better.
desensitize your students to these.
Less is better.
Yeah, definitely. Use them sparingly. The nice thing about it is when you use them sparingly, a lot of times students don't even necessarily know that these aren't coming from you individually, which they are because you're taking the time to kind of emphasize the important parts of your course by using these. But at the same time, it's automatic. You go, hey, I want this to happen when the students take this action or don't take this action. Um, next up is the schedule. If you want to use a schedule and not have to run it manually, you check Use Schedule, and then you click on Update Schedule. Few things here. We already looked at it a little bit. Okay, there we go. You have daily, weekly, monthly, annually. I probably wouldn't do annually because we don't have any courses that run for more than a year. So I would stick with one of the top three, and the easiest one is probably daily. I'd say that's the most common. Now you can do this in a way that if your time frame is 17 days, that's perfectly fine. You can't necessarily do that with weekly, which is only 7-day increments. So that's why you kind of have the flexibility here.
So, I can you move the box that you're on over a little bit? Yeah. So, okay, so see here it says action, agent action. It says take action only the first time criteria is met. And so then, okay, so then the user won't get repeating um, emails. But so here you are in a schedule of like daily. So this it still won't send it daily, right?
Uh,
Based on
Correct. So what we're setting a schedule for is how often this agent is evaluated against the students in your course. So every day it's going to look for these two criteria that we set up here, and if a student satisfies that, and here we'll go every one day. If a student satisfies that, it will send them that email, and then the next time that it checks, because we have this first box selected here, this first option selected here, what it's going to do is it's going to go in and it's going to say, okay, did that student satisfy my criteria? Yes. Have I already sent this email to this student? Yes. And it's going to take no more action. If we
okay,
select the
good.
second box, it's going to evaluate every day and not look at that second step, which is, have I already sent this email? It's just going to send it anyway.
That makes student's going to try to kill their teacher any second.
It's happened before, and students and instructors both notice very quickly when that happens. So that's why I say this top option almost every time you set one of these up, that's the option that you're going to want to select. Okay, so start date and end date, I highly recommend setting both. If we are not doing an attendance-based one, meaning we're looking at something that's constrained by a different time frame, like say midterm 2, we can set a date that goes, okay, my second midterm is going to happen this week. I want it to start running on Monday, and we're going to have it stop running on Friday. So I want to check just during that week, did they meet these criteria? Now, like I said before, if we are doing course activity, I would highly recommend doing like a start of the semester or something like that. If we're looking if they haven't logged in for 5 days, start on the 5th day of the semester and end your first agent on the last day of class before spring break or fall break, whatever it may be. And then if you want to evaluate this for the rest of the class, we can create another agent that will do that and set the dates accordingly for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
James, does that make sense to you? I know this is kind of the part that you wanted to take a look at.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Oh, and there's two James.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, yeah.
I realized
James
that
Steve.
after I said it, so.
Yeah. So my question, Brandon, was for attendance. How frequently do we want it to repeat? Where it says repeats every X amount of days, that's referring to the email being sent to the student who has been non-attending.
No,
correct?
pardon me. That's going to be. Sorry, I think I need to get a drink of water here. That's going to be how often the agent is evaluated. And so, let me cancel this. I'll go back up real quick.
I thought that was what the top one was, where it says repeats daily. I got it confused. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So if we're doing course activity and I'm saying, hey, I want them to be they haven't logged into my class for 3 days is when I want the first one to be sent out. I can go down here and say only the first time. I still recommend that. And when I set my schedule, I can go in and I want that to be evaluate every day whether they have been gone for 3 days. But then this is going to be, so let's see, what was it? The 19th was our first day. So if I look at this, I want to be smart about this. So if our first day is the 19th, the first time I want to know if somebody hasn't been here for 3 days is probably on the 3rd day. Not on the first day, because you're going to have students that probably haven't logged in for several days on the first day of class. I would start it probably on the 3rd day of class and then say, okay. We're going to go all the way up to, and I think spring break's coming up. We'll throw it on that Monday. Actually, I think.
Yeah, I got it now. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm in the process of making dinner while I'm also trying to listen to you. So
Multitasking.
what I want to do is the action repetition. Set that to take action only the first time.
Yeah, I would definitely select that. If you're looking for people who've been gone more than 3 days, I would set up a different agent that looks for if they've been gone, say 5 days, and then 7 days, and however long after that. I think that's probably going to be the best way to go.
Thanks for clarifying.
Sure. Okay, now we get to so we can look at this again. We get a plain English explanation of what we just set. It says this agent is evaluated every 1 day starting Thursday, January 21st, 2016 until Friday, March 11th, 2016. There's no code, there's no nothing like that to look through. When you select this, it's very clear about what it's going to do, and then below that, it even gives you the first time or the next time that it's actually going to run this agent. So it tells me it's going to run it today. And these actually run at, I believe it's 6 p.m. And so it's not automatic right when the action happens. It's going to send out this email. It's once every day, and I believe it's either 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock p.m. And so that's when it will send out those emails. Up next is actually setting up the email. And we took a look at this a little bit earlier, using like initiating user and things like that. I have myself CC'd on this one so that I get a copy of every email that's sent out. But you see underneath the address block, so this portion right here, you'll see a little link that says what special email addresses can I use? And this is where I get all of my information from. These are where those screenshots came from. And so when I go in here, we can look, and it says you can use the following replace strings. Really, the only one that you can use is initiating user. Pardon me. Initiating user auditors, we do not use the auditor role at Front Range. And so that one, you can put it in, it's not going to break anything, but it also won't send to anybody. There are no auditors in any courses at Front Range. And so again, what I tell you is, you can type these in if you're brave and bold and all of that, but really the best way to do it is what I just did, which is copy it and paste it. If you accidentally type an extra R in here, none of your emails will be sent because this will not be replaced with anything.
So if you wanted to be the one who was sent to alert you about a certain student,
Mm-hmm.
then you could just put your email address there?
Sure. Then I probably wouldn't CC myself on it. Okay, so I'm going to pop this back in and then throw myself back down here real quick. Can't type tonight. Okay, and then if we go down from there, we can actually look at what an email looks like. And again, we have kind of that list of replacement strings that I put in there. So you don't need to copy this down. You don't need to, have it anywhere for your reference. It's going to be in D2L, and it can be used both in the email subject and in the message down below. So with this particular example, it's not crucially important to include extra information here. This is just one that was kind of, hey, I had a student visit an optional piece of content. Obviously, they're interested in chemical reactions. So I say, hi, initiating user first name. And again, the whole reason that I copy and paste these is because if you don't and you spell it wrong, it's going to send exactly this to your students. So if we go in here and we make sure it's correct, it's going to replace this when it sends it with whatever your student's first name is. So that's the whole point of using these. It also makes them very useful because we can go in and say, if we need more information from, I don't have it up anymore. We're going to pull this back up real quick. Say I'm looking for information on what student is having issues here or anything like that. I can make this include all of that information. And so I can say I want initiating user first name. What else do I want here? I want initiating user last name as well. And you can put these in here, so like, just like you would be typing, if I put a space here and pop in initiating user last name, it's going to put in first name and last name with a space in between them, just like you would with anything else. Then I can also include, I want their S number too. And something important might be maybe my course name, because I'm teaching 17 courses this semester, so it'd be nice if I knew what course this belonged with. So what this will do is when you pop these in, it's going to replace all of this with the pertinent information for the student who initiates this. It will populate their first name and last name. It'll populate their S number, which is what org defined ID is. And then it's going to populate my course name, which for this one it's BMP practice. But for any other course, it would be the whole, like AST 101 section 501 with, my name in here. And then astronomy 1 and all of that information. It's going to populate it automatically when it sends this. And so that's useful for making sure that you can transfer these from one course to another. Another way that I've done things is I've actually populated this up here in the subject, so it's easy for me when I go in and I look in my email to notice that this information is from this specific course. So that's a kind of a great way to make use of those. What I've done in this one is actually include kind of a cool, slightly educational video, kind of on chemical reactions here. And what it does is this is something that the student will see in their email. It'll display in line to them. It gives them kind of what certain things are. It gives them a chemical reaction. It gives them a name of a reaction. And it's just kind of a cool little video that teaches them a little bit more. I can include further resources in here if I want to. This is just something I personally find kind of cool. So that's an option of one thing that you can do with this. It's playing really loud in my headset, so I'm going to turn that down. Any questions so far? Any ideas that you want to see if are possible, or questions that you want to kind of look at?
I'd be interested to know what other some ideas of what other instructors have done.
Sure.
I see the part where you know, if you haven't logged in a certain number of days, that makes sense. But I'd be just curious to find out what the common ones are.
The common ones that I've seen so far are, I think definitely the most popular is attendance. The other ones that I've seen are messages on after exams or assignments. When students get certain grade items on things, kind of setting up what am I trying to say? Kind of a hierarchy of students who did well in kind of the 85 and up, then the 70 to 85, and then everyone below that, kind of giving them individual feedback and resources if they need them. The other ones that I've seen are maybe even just confirmations on particular assignments. Hey, I got this turned in from you, that kind of a thing. I think those are kind of the ones that I've seen the most of.
I also I have many of those, and then I also have one where I just send out a reminder to everyone that we have an assignment due date coming up.
Absolutely.
And so instead of having to generate the email on my own, I have it set up as an intelligent agent, and then all I need to do is make sure the dates are correct, and voila, it gets sent off. So it's a bit of a time saver. Also has the assignment. I have very general Dropbox assignment instructions, which pretty much apply to all of my Dropbox assignments. So I throw those in there as well, so they're right in with the message the students receive.
That's interesting.
So how long have you been using these, James?
So I started with the pilot last spring.
Okay.
But I didn't really use them in the fall, but I want to get back to using them again now. And that's part of my motivation for kind of hanging out tonight, is to know how to do it myself, and that way I can take it off of online learning folks' hands like yourself and Alex Geis. And so, yeah, it's been helpful to see how to manage them.
I don't know if you saw, but the new update that we had just like a week and a half ago or so has the negatives in here, so that hey, you can only alert students who have not submitted their Dropbox yet, and so you can go in and say, hey, send this out to those students who say we have something due on Friday, maybe on Wednesday night we can send out a reminder email to the students who haven't submitted their Dropbox, or haven't visited a content topic, or haven't posted in discussions, or completed a quiz.
Cool.
So that's a new thing in here. Definitely, it just got released to the general public at Front Range. Like I said, less than 2 weeks ago. So.
And under what category?
So that's in when we do release conditions, instead of doing the login or course activity. When we go in here for any of the tools, so for checklist, for content discussions, or Dropbox, any of them that just say have not visited or not posted or not submitted to the Dropbox.
Got it. Create. So under create and attach.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay. No. Awesome.
Brandon, I have to go be with my family. Thank you very
No
much.
problem. Thank you for attending.
Very wonderful. Bye.
Bye. Have a good night. Anybody else have any questions or anything you want to share?
I don't. I also have to get going.
No
So
problem. Thanks for coming,
thank you,
James.
Brandon.
Yep. If you have any questions, feel free to get in touch.
Sure thing. Thanks for having this informative session for us.
Sure.
Bye.
Have a good night. All right. So real quick, I'm going to throw up kind of the last slide here. Just information. That's kind of the phone number and the email address for the instructional design team. So any questions or anything like that in the future, just shoot us an email or give us a phone call, and we'll get you taken care of. I'm going to stick around for a minute, James. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. If not, you're welcome to
Sorry,
leave.
my microphone was on mute. Yeah, thank you so
Yeah,
much
no problem.
for this. I've got to think about how I might want to implement
Yeah.
this in my courses, and there's a lot of stuff that would work well, I
Yeah.
think.
Absolutely. If you have, like I
Great.
said, if you have any questions, you can contact me directly, or our instructional design team will be. We're all informed on this, so if you have any questions, just send us an email, give us a phone call, and we'll help you out. We'll figure it out.
Great. Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah, definitely. Have a good night.
All right. You too.
Thanks.